Good morning, students. This is my revision lecture for class 11 students, subject English, from your book Hornbill. Children, in this revision lecture, I'll make you revise poem number 1, A Photograph by Shirley Tolson, and chapter number 1, The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. We will cover both the topics in this revision lecture, and I'll make you revise these topics one by one. First, I'll take the poem A Photograph. Let's begin with the poem. The poem says, "The cardboard shows me how it was when the two girl cousins went paddling." Paddling means walking. Each one holding one of my mother's hands, and she, the big girl, some 12 years or so. In these lines, the poet Shirley Tolson talks about an old-looking photo which is made up of a cardboard, and what she sees in this picture that there are 3 girls total in number who are walking on the beach holding each other's hands. The girl in the middle is the tallest and oldest. The other 2 girls on each side are younger than her. Therefore, it is written, each one holding one of my mother's hands. That means the poet's mother is in the middle, and on each side of hers there are 2 girl cousins holding her hand, and she means the poet's mother, the big girl, who is some 12 years or so. That is the poet's mother, who is around 12 years old when this picture was taken. The poet says, all three, who are those 3? The poet's mother and her 2 girl cousins stood still to smile through their hair at the uncle with the camera, a sweet face, my mother's, that was before I was born, and the sea, which appears to have changed less, washed their terribly transient feet. In these lines, the poet describes how the photograph was taken at the sea beach. Her mother's uncle took the photograph and told them to stop and pose. Therefore, it is written, all 3 stood still. Whenever we are photographed, we also stand still. We also give different poses. In the same manner, they went with their uncle at the sea beach, and their uncle was holding a camera to capture that sweet moment into it. Therefore, the uncle asked those 3 girls to stand still and laugh. Write, a sweet face, my mother's. Then all 3 of them left their wet hair open and smiled at the camera. The poet's attention is drawn towards his mother's face, which is described as a sweet face. The poet describes her mother's face as a sweet face, and the photograph was taken long before the poet was born. This photograph which she is describing was taken before this poet Shirley Tolson was born. Right? And the poet calls their feet transient, terribly transient, as they were so young by then. Transient means short term, temporary. So the poet calls their feet terribly transient, as they were so young by then, and now they had grown older. On the other hand, the poet shows the contrast of the nature with human beings. The poet tells that the sea which touched their feet has changed less. These lines show that nature is permanent and humans are temporary. that sea has not brought many changes. It was as it is. It is as it was when the poet's mother was 12 years and so. In next lines, the poet says, some 20-30 years later, she means the poet's mother, would laugh at the snapshot. See, Betty and Dolly. Children, remember, these are the names, Betty and Dolly, of those two girl cousins which the poet can see in the photograph of her mother. So the mother would laugh at the snapshot and would tell those cousins, see, Betty and Dolly, she would say, and look how they dressed us for the beach. They refers to the elders of those girls, right? So the poet in this line says that some 20 or 30 years later, when the mother would look at this photograph, at this snapshot, and say to those girl cousins, by addressing them Betty and Dolly, see how our elders dressed us for that sea beach holiday that we enjoyed. Children, when you look at your childhood photographs, you also get surprised. Sometimes those photographs make you laugh, that how we looked like when we were very young. In the similar manner, when the poet's mother will look at her snapshot after 20 or 30 years later, she would compare her looks of those days with the present days. That would make her laugh, and she would even laugh at her dressing sense, at her way that they people had been dressed up by their elders. Then in next lines, the poet says, the sea holiday which her mother enjoyed at the beach with her two girl cousins and her uncle was her past, that has become the past of her mother. Mine is her laughter. Mine means the poet. The poet talks that the sea holiday has become my mother's past, and for me, my mother's laughter has become my past. Both of us means the poet and her mother. Both rhyme with the labored ease of loss. Rhyme means here ironic or mocking. So the poet recalls the sea holiday was her mother's favorite moment from the past, while the poet's favorite moment from the past was her mother's laughter. Now both the women would think about those past memories which they cannot live again. They tried their best to adjust to what they lost. What have they lost? The mother has lost her sea holiday, her past, and the poet has lost her mother's laughter because her mother is no more now. In next lines, Charlotte Olson says, now she has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. You need to understand this line. She says, she has been dead. Who has been dead here? The poet's mother. Has been dead nearly as many years as that girl lived. When this photograph was captured, how long was she? She was 12 years old, which has already been told. And now those many years have passed, means 12 years have passed that the poet's mother has died. And of this circumstance there is nothing to say at all. It's silence, silences. In the above lines, the poet says that her mother died 12 years ago, the same age her mother was in the photograph. Whenever the poet thinks of her mother's death, she cannot explain what effect she has of her mother's death. Death has silenced her mother, which has also left her speechless. She says, now there is nothing to describe anymore because the death has made my mother silenced and the death of my mother has silenced me. So it is only and only the silence which silences me and I find myself all alone. The poet cannot express the grief that she has from her mother's absence. Before I end up the poem, let me tell you the summary of the poem for your better understanding, children. This poem, a photograph, is actually a tribute to the poet's mother. She is looking at an old photograph of her mother, which has a frame of cardboard. This picture has 3 girls in which the middle one is the oldest and the tallest, to which she describes as a sweet face, that is the poet's mother. It's her mother when she was 12 years old or so. Beside her on both sides are her 2 girl cousins named Betty and Dolly. They are holding both hands from each side of the poet's mother and they are younger than the poet's mother. They went on the sea beach to enjoy their sea holiday with their uncle having a camera to capture the sweet moment of their journey or of their enjoyment at the sea beach. The uncle asks these girls to laugh at the camera and stand still to give a pose. Then all 3 of them stood still and laughed. As it was a sea beach, then the wind was blowing and their hair were falling onto their face. And they all stood still to be captured in the camera. And then the poet describes that after 20 or 30 years later, if her mother had looked at this snapshot, would have laughed a lot to see how their elders dressed them up for their sea holiday. And she would address to her cousins Betty and Dolly, and they all 3 of them would laugh after having a look on the photograph that how differently they were dressed up when they were very young. This poem is actually a tribute that she is paying to her dead mother because the poet is sad as she has lost her mother. She has written this poem in the memory of her mother, in which she tells that my mother is no more and both of us are at labored ease of loss. My mother has lost her laughter and I, the poet, has lost the mother. So, after losing the mother, she remains silent and sad. And a very beautiful fact that Shirley Olson has described the difference between the nature and human's life through an example of the sea. The sea which appears to have changed less, which means that the sea which touched her mother's feet is one which has not changed over the years, whereas her mother and her cousins grew older. The sea symbolizes eternity and immortality, and it shows that nature is permanent, whereas human life is not permanent. The poet at the end is sad about her mother's demise. Demise means death, 12 years ago, and her laugh is her favorite past memory. This is the end of the poem. Now we will proceed to the revision assignment. Children, this revision assignment is from the same poem which you have just revised, and there are 5 questions which are additional. You will not find these ones as textual question answers given in your textbook, but these are additional questions which I have given you to answer in 30 to 40 words each. All of you are supposed to answer these questions in your rough English notebook because I'll share the answer of these questions also on EdQuark site with you. And after checking or matching those answers with your attempt, you are supposed to make the necessary changes wherever required, and then you are supposed to learn and write these questions with their answers in your Fair English notebook. Now we will proceed to the second revision. The second revision part will be of lesson number 1, The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh. The writer described his grandmother and the beautiful relationship between both of them. The writer describes his grandmother as a beautiful woman but not pretty. And he says that his grandmother had been an old and wrinkled woman for last 20 years that he had known her. And she always remained in telling the beads of her rosary. She had silver hair and she used to wear a white sari. She was a very kind woman, used to feed the dogs with stale chapatis every afternoon. And the writer describes the beautiful relationship into 3 phases of their life. In first lecture, I taught you about the first phase of their life that he spent with her at village. When grandmother used to wake him up, got him ready for school, accompanied him to school, spent the whole time in the temple, and she used to do everything for the writer in the village. When they got a call from his parents to be migrated to city, it was the second phase of their life, which was considered a turning point into their relationship. The writer got a call from his parents to be shifted to city, though they were given the same room to share in their city home. But now the child became over busy as he got admission in a city school, and there he used to go by a motor bus, and grandmother could not accompany him to school now. There he was taught English lessons, all the subjects in English, and grandmother could not help him in his studies or completing homework. And then he describes grandmother's dislike for the city school, as once he told his grandmother he was given a music lesson which disturbed his grandmother a lot, because to her music had lewd associations. It was the monopoly of harlots and beggars and not meant for gentlefolk. She said nothing, but her silence meant disapproval, and she rarely talked to the writer after that. When the author grew up, he went up to a university and he was given a room of his own. Due to it, the common link of the grandmother with her grandson was snapped. The grandmother accepted her seclusion with resignation. Seclusion means loneliness, resignation means willingly. Grandma accepted her loneliness willingly. She rarely left her spinning wheel to talk to anyone now. From sunrise to sunset, she sat by her wheel spinning and reciting prayers. Only in the afternoon she relaxed for a while to feed the sparrows. While she sat in the veranda, breaking the breadcrumbs into the bits, hundreds of little birds collected round her, creating a veritable bedlam of chirping. Bedlam means mental asylum. Some came and perched on her legs, others on her shoulders, some even sat on her head. She smiled but never shooed them away. It used to be the happiest half hour of the day for her. This was the time when she missed her grandson, but uncomplainingly she started passing her time with sparrows and the spinning wheel. Then the long distance occurred in their relationship. This time the author decided to go to abroad for his further studies. The author had to go to abroad for 5 long years, and he was sure that his grandmother would be upset after knowing this. And he would be away for 5 years, and at her age, one could never tell whether she would be alive to see him back or not. But the lady was very strong in her character. She did not say anything to the writer, and even she went to leave him at the railway station, but did not talk or show any emotion. Her lips moved in prayer, her mind was lost in prayer. Her fingers were busy telling the beads of her rosary. Silently she kissed his forehead, and when he left, he cherished the most imprint as perhaps the last sign of physical contact. The author's arrival at home was a celebration time for the grandmother. That day, she behaved differently. In the evening, a change came over her. That day, she did not pray. In fact, she collected all the neighborhood women and she got an old drum and started singing the songs of homecoming warriors. And all the family members tried to persuade her to stop to avoid overstraining. And the author says that was the first time since he had known her that she did not pray. She overstrained all the evening and she kept on singing the songs of homecoming warriors in order to welcome the grandchild back to home. The next morning, she was taken ill. Due to the overstrain she took the last evening, she fell sick. Now she could see her death herself. The doctor was called and the doctor declared as if it was a mild fever and it would go very soon. But his grandmother thought differently. She told the family members that her end was near. She said that since only a few hours before the close of the last chapter of her life, she had omitted to pray. She was not going to waste any more time talking to anybody. The family members protested, but she ignored their protest and she laid peacefully in bed, praying and telling her beads. Even before anybody could suspect, her lips stopped moving and the rosary fell from her lifeless fingers. A peaceful pallor means yellow color, paled face, spread on her face and everything was dead. Everybody found that she was dead. After a few hours of mourning, they left her alone to make other arrangements for her funeral. In the evening, they went to her room with a crude stretcher to take her to be cremated. The sun was setting and had lit her room and veranda with a blaze of golden light. They stopped halfway in the courtyard. They noticed all over the veranda and even in her room, right up to where she laid dead and stiff wrapped in the red shroud, thousands of sparrows sat scattered on the floor. There was no chirping. They felt sorry for the birds, and his mother, the author's mother, fetched some breadcrumbs for them in the way they were given by the grandmother. And she tried to throw all those breadcrumbs to them because the family members thought they had come to take their breadcrumbs. But they found that the sparrows took no notice of the bread. And in fact, when they carried his grandmother's corpse off, the dead body off, all the sparrows flew away quietly, silently. Next morning, the sweeper swept the breadcrumbs into the dustbin. It was the beautiful way of sparrows to express their sorrow onto the death of a kind woman. Let us conclude the chapter. The chapter The Portrait of a Lady by Khushwant Singh describes the beautiful bond between the grandson and the grandmother. in which he describes the unconditional love of the grandmother poured onto her grandson, and he tells how beautifully the grandmother helped in his bringing up and how she met her end. She was such a kind and pious woman who would remain always adorable for the grandson. She would always be alive in his memories, and he would never forget the beautiful lady who was beautiful by heart and had done all the acts of kindness to set an example not only for the grandchild but for all the children who have studied this chapter. So the whole chapter has been recapitulated. Now we will proceed to the revision assignment of lesson number 1, the portrait of a lady. In this revision assignment, children, you can see there are 7 questions given to answer in 30 to 40 words each, and there are 2 additional questions given to answer in 120 to 150 words each. 120 to 150 words questions will be given in your exam for 6 marks, and rest will come for 2 marks each. So similarly, here also you will be answering these questions on the basis of understanding of the chapter in your rough notebook, and then match their answers once I share them with you on EdQuark site, and then you are supposed to learn and write all those answers in your Fair English notebook. Children, this is the end of this revision lecture. I hope you people have understood what I wanted to teach you. Thank you. Stay safe, stay happy.